So, Iman, I'm going to start with you. Why do you believe the Detroit Pistons can win?
I believe in the Detroit Pistons because they have Cade Cunningham. When you start talking about the fourth quarter, you start talking about decision making. If you want to put anybody you want in the league against Cade Cunningham and talk about decision making at the end of the game, I really think Cade Cunningham is a great case for being the best. I think that he comes out in the fourth quarter, his team trusts him, the crowd trusts him, the NBA trusts him. I trust him at this point. I can't go against him. And when you see that, you see Jared Duncan, Duncan Robinson on the wing, and then you see JD down there on the block. You just know that they can come off of that ball screen. They can have that back. They can have that tag man have to make a decision. They have Tobias Harris out there being a leader and being a veteran guy that knows how to win at the end of games. When I see that makeup, I see them being able to match up with anybody in the playoffs and anybody in the Western Conference.
You know, and not for nothing, they are the number one seed right now, and they've lived up to it at least to this point of the season. So, Tim, as it results to Cade, is he the most underappreciated star in the NBA?
Howdy, Matt. I really think Cade Cunningham is appropriately appreciated. He was third-team All-NBA last season, the first year that this Pistons group made the playoffs. Hey, he got appreciation with a contract. That elevated him to a Supermax deal, and he's living up to that this year. Further appreciation comes by getting beyond the first round, comes with deep playoff runs. Cade Cunningham right now, if the season ended today, would be on a lot of MVP ballots. I do believe that these Pistons will get past the first round, and that appreciation for Cade will continue to follow.
Yeah, look, appropriately appreciated right now with a team that hasn't proved itself in a postseason yet. Certainly is something we'll watch as we embark on the back half of the season. MacMahon, it's your turn now. And this one's kind of a caveat question with the Boston Celtics, okay? Why do you believe the Celtics can win? Caveat, Jason Tatum.
Well, listen, the Celtics, give them credit. They've got the statistical profile right now as a contender. And obviously, Jason Tatum has yet to play a second this season. Jaylen Brown, Joe Mazzulla, those guys have been amazing, that supporting cast. I think they need Jason Tatum at or near his normal level to be able to break through, win the East, and be a legitimate championship contender. We do not know if Jason Tatum's coming back. We know he's practicing with their G League team. We know that he is trending towards having a chance to come back. We don't know if he will, and we don't know what level he'll be at if he is able to get back to game action this season.
Again, it's a big if with the Celtics. The non-if, though, is Jaylen Brown and the level he's playing at. Iman, do you believe that he is playing at an MVP level?
I think he is. I think that he's playing with a sense to prove it. It's been an urgency this year because there was a lot of talks when Jason Tatum went down that this team would have to deal with the roadblocks that would happen. But I think he's taking it personal, and he's taking this offseason very serious and coming to this proving that he is a two-way player. He is a capable player down the stretch. He's been a capable player as far as averaging the most in this league and being at the top of the scoring list the whole year. It's been consistent. It's been overlooked because of some of the other success that you see around the league. But make no mistake, Jaylen Brown is the real deal. Like, when you start talking about somebody that can get to spots, somebody that can score the ball from the three-point line, also get to the basket and be a willing passer in the lane, he can do it all. So I can trust him, and I can feel that way knowing that Jason Tatum might come back. You got a Vucevic that's coming over there and filling in that spot that Al Horford had just a couple of years ago, and you start to see that the Celtics haven't really dropped off as much as you thought they did.
Yeah, look, and he's done enough to this point, but can he do enough without Jason Tatum in the postseason? That's a question the Celtics probably don't want to answer now as Tatum works his way back. All right, Iman, your turn now with the Knicks. Why do you believe the Knicks can win?
I just think that the Knicks find ways to win. Sometimes it's not pretty, and I can understand that. There's sometimes that cat seems out of place. I totally understand that. But when they start clicking on all cylinders, you start looking around the league and trying to figure out who can really deal with the matchup. Again, when we start looking at playoffs, we're not looking at the regular season where it's like they had to get their record right, they had to pick their seeding. We start looking at matchups. You start looking at who can deal with people down the stretch, who can go out there and outscore a Jalen Brunson when he starts getting going down the stretch. And you know in the playoffs, that's when he's showing proves who he is. So when you're dealing with somebody like that, you're dealing with a cat, if they get it rolling, they become a bad matchup for people.
You know, it's interesting, too. This was one of the biggest stories of the offseason when they fired Tibbs to bring in Mike Brown. So, Tim, when you look at this team, what is the biggest change for the Knicks under their new head coach?
Yeah, you talk about finals or bust expectations. You can your coach after your most successful season in 25 years. And I think on the positive side, the biggest change under Mike Brown is this is a deeper team. He's doing a much better job utilizing the bench. Obviously, that was a constant complaint under Tibbs. On the negative side, though, Karl Anthony Towns is not nearly as comfortable playing for Mike Brown as he was for Tibbs. Mike Brown wants to run concepts. Cat likes having plays run for him. And look, there have been times where the Knicks' mental toughness has come into question. I had a Knicks staffer tell me that hard-playing teams are our kryptonite.
And look, again, this is going to be one of those moves, I think, until the postseason ends that will likely be scrutinized because of things you said there with a player like Karl Anthony Towns. Gentlemen, you'll be with us throughout the morning. Thank you so much as we go to the second half of the NBA season. We're going to talk about how the West can be won. We can't do it without pointing out that according to DraftKings Sportsbook, the defending champion Thunder have the best odds to win the West at -120, followed by the Nuggets at +300. The Thunder currently have a 3-game lead over the Spurs for the top spot of the West, but already have as many losses this season as they had all of last season. So we bring in Tim MacMahon and Iman Shumpert back with us to talk about a wild Western Conference. Again, Thunder the favorite, but there are some contenders. So we're going to call it How the West Can Be Won. And Iman, I'm going to start with you. How can Wemby and the Spurs come out of the West?
Just continue to do what they've been doing. I think the advantage that they have is when you have a Wembanyama, you have somebody that becomes a matchup problem when you start talking about playoff basketball. Playoff basketball is all about keeping the train on the tracks, making sure that it's a competitive game, keeping it between 2 and 3 possessions, and at the end of the game, making your strike and make sure that you can make a push to where you score, we score, but we can string together more stops. I think that Wemby adds that culture over there to the San Antonio Spurs, who already have a winning culture, but having that over there and then having a point guard in De'Aaron Fox, having a Stephen Castle who is hyper athletic and able to defend multiple positions, you have all the pieces. You have a Harrison Barnes. You just have to make sure that Wemby knows what to do with a double team because you know the double team's coming, but we have seen him deal with a little bit of a headache when it comes to that. So I just want to see him do smoother with the double team, and I like their chances on rolling the dice in the West.
And it may have any player in the league, Wemby, the must-see player when you watch him on a night in and night out basis. And Tim, this is perfect if you're how to do here because we're doing the West as one. We got a lasso, we got Western music. What does Wemby need to do to change for the Spurs? What does he need to change for the Spurs to come out of the West?
Howdy again, Matt. I'll sum it up in 4 words. Not a damn thing. Just keep being Wemby. Keep being aggressive. Keep making the right reads. And look, there's a lot of focus put on, oh my gosh, what's Wemby's shot diets? How many threes is he taking? How much is he in the paint? Read the game. If he can get up 10 or 12 good threes in a game, fire away. If he can score 25, 30 points in the paint, great. If you can do both, even awesome. But the number one way that Wemby contributes to winning for the Spurs is he is the most dominant defensive force in the NBA. It is not close. My biggest question on the Spurs is, can you win an NBA championship with essentially zero seasoning as a group? That's the biggest question for San Antonio in terms of can they win right now.
Yeah, which, by the way, the league better take advantage of it now while he's still developing. Because once that's done, forget it. You're talking about a generational run with a player that looks like he's going to take over the league at any given point. Okay, Iman, team number 2. How can Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves win the West?
I think that Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves are in a good position. They're getting overshadowed right now by a lot of good basketball getting played in the West. It's a lot of good storylines in the West. But make no mistake, and I think Ant-Man came to make that statement in the All-Star game that he's here and he's aggressive. He's looking for the postseason. He's looking forward to facing some of the top guys in the NBA. When you start talking about last year, they had some playoff woes where Julius Randle kind of disappeared in a lot of those matchups and Ant-Man was left alone. He dealt with a lot of double teams, and I think that's what he's been preparing himself for. What am I going to do to respond to that double team, and what am I going to do when I have to face SGA and the OKC Thunder in the West?
And again, Anthony Edwards, he's one of those players, Tim, that can take over a game at any given point. But what must the T-Wolves do to get out of a loaded West?
Well, I'll tell you what their GM, Tim Connolly, thinks they had to do, and this is actions over words, but he thinks they need to get another superstar to pair with Anthony Edwards. That's why they went after Kevin Durant at last year's trade deadline again this summer. That's why they went after Giannis at this trade deadline. You know, to acquire that second superstar is extremely difficult to do without draft picks, but clearly that's the way that he's evaluating this team. And look, the Timberwolves, they deserve the respect of being 2 consecutive conference finals, so you can't just leave them out of the conversation about Western Conference contenders. But it's not like the last 2 conference finals in the West were competitive series.
Right.
I don't see the Timberwolves as a real threat to come out of the West this season either.
So you believe that they're a player away. Get some work done in the offseason, bring in another player to pair with Ant, essentially?
And again, that's a lot easier said than done, given the assets.
Yeah. Well, look, end of the day, they still have one of the top flight players in the league. And Iman, I need you to humor me here, just because LeBron and Luka in the Lakers, how do they get out of the West?
I mean, listen, I say that they're a second-round exit, right? But don't get me wrong. I played with LeBron James. I've seen Luka go all the way to the championship. But playing next to LeBron James, people forget he's seen every coaching style. He has seen everything that the league has to offer, and he knows how to win. So if LeBron could string this along and trickle past the second round, I would say this season is more than a success. But I just don't see the Lakers having a lot of pressure to have to win now. We don't look at this roster and see anything dominating. We want to see LeBron, Luka, and AR play together. I'm excited for it too. It's Showtime Lakers. Who doesn't want to see that? But when you start talking about the pressure of winning, nobody's expecting a 41-year-old LeBron James to carry this team over the top, nor am I expecting Luka to have to put together the perfect scoring performance of a lifetime to make sure that he can propel this team past every team in the West, because the West is just high power right now.
Maybe the last 2 weeks of the season, LeBron just hang out in a hyperbaric chamber at 41 years old to go on that run, Tim. Give me some realistic expectations for Luka and the Lakers.
They got bounced in the first round last year. That's the realistic expectation again. Look, who are they going to match up with in the first round? Are they better than San Antonio? Are they better than Denver? Maybe they can get matched up with Minnesota and Houston and have a real chance, but let's just call it as it is. The Lakers are a major roster renovation away from being able to contend around the core of Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves. Notice I did not mention LeBron James. They are the other side of LeBron James before the Lakers are going to be a real contender again. This roster needs a lot of work to give it the defensive infrastructure that they need to contend with Luka and Austin Reeves.
I'm on fire.